Hey y'all, I'm back. So I'm the lady that's sharing life lessons that I'm learning along the way from my own personal journey as well as those around me. I am a sponge when it comes to life lessons, and I really find value in sharing that with others. So I hope you find value in it as well. This is the series. This is the short series, as far as I can see, about relationship advice from a divorced person, a healed divorced person. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to the previous video and check it out. I was going to start with relationship advice for singles, but my last video actually prompted some words from married folk, and who, kind of alluded to not being in agreement with the fact that a divorced person would be the best person to get relationship advice from. So I decided to switch it and start with tips and relationship advice for those who are currently married. Okay, let's get right into it. First of all, I'm not offended at all that some married people will feel like, nah, you ended up divorced, or other people, the divorced people, don't need to be saying nothing or giving no relationship advice to married people. I'm not offended because I used to think that way as well. I used to think that the people that had made it to at least a decade of marriage, 10 years of marriage, they were the top of the totem pole to seek relationship advice from. Because I'm like, hey, once you get to 10 years, come on, it's a wrap. Like, you know what I mean? Sorry, got something in my eye. To me, you've made it over the hump, the 7-year itch. By the time you've been married for 10 years, I used to think that there is nothing at that point that can break you up. Well, I was naive, and I was sorely and sadly mistaken. I know couples that have been together for decades, with an S, and they did not make it until death did they part. So that was a shock for me. And these bugs are just amazing this summer, well, now fall. So that positioned me to decide that, okay, I understand now that that is not the proper mindset to have. So this is why I say that a healed divorced person is the best person to get relationship advice from. So let's get right into it. Okay, settle down. I want you to interact with this post, with this video. I want you to take in what I say. And again, this is from my opinion, my experience, and the experience of those around me, not just my experience. Okay, this is where these tips or advice is coming from, and some of it is probably not a news flash, but some of it may be. Maybe a nice reminder. Okay, for married people, the first thing that I'll say is, don't have a settled down mentality. A lot of people, when they get married, they think, well, I'm settling down, it's over with. All the fun is done. You hear married people joke and are serious about that all the time, that pretty much life is over, I've wrapped it up, I'm got the old ball and chain, I've decided to acquiesce my single hood to now be married. And it's kind of seen as a it's kind of given a little negative tinge to it, right? But I say that if you have a settled down mentality, then you're going to move in a certain way within your relationship that may not be very good. There should be adjustments. There should be natural adjustments when you get married. Now, you shouldn't be out here moving like you were when you were single. For instance, if you usually went out with your guys every weekend, or with your girls every weekend, you did brunch every weekend, or you went to shoot pool, or whatever, every weekend with your people, then you would expect that you're not going to just keep that as business as usual once you get married. However, you should not completely stop it, because that's a part of who you are. That's a part of, your social life. That's a part of you having an outlet, okay? Having connection with other people that hopefully are good people that your spouse wouldn't have an issue with you hanging with, right? But maybe it's not every weekend now. Maybe it's once a month. Maybe it's once a month. You should not stop being who you are when you become married, because some of us, we just, you're in love, especially initially, or you're in settle down mode, you're in comfort, you're in, routine, and you actually cease to be who you are. I know so many married people, and I did it as well, where it's kind of like you kind of mesh into the person that you're with. I know especially for women, we tend to really kind of merge our lives into the man. If he's into sports, even if we weren't into sports, we're now immersed into sports, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, because that actually is part of the beauty of partnering with someone else. You can now be, exposed to things that maybe before you weren't so interested in, but because of them and because you love them and this is what they enjoy, then you want to enjoy it with them. So you may become involved, and it may genuinely become a passion for you as well. However, you should add that to your current interests and hobbies and work and all of that stuff. It should not be a replacement, because then if it's a replacement, what do you have to offer that person in terms of a new experience, a new exposure? Like, what do you have that they can now come in on and say, hey, I didn't used to play golf, but now, my lady got me into golf. My wife, I didn't used to even think about fashion, but now, my lady got me, kind of really enjoying going and, picking out certain patterns and shoes and this, that, the other. I didn't even care about dusty shoes before. You know what I mean? Like, it can be anything, but you have to maintain your individuality. That is actually part of the reason why your spouse was attracted to you, who you were as an individual. All things being equal, right? So if you are a married person and you dropped a lot of things about yourself out of the busyness of marriage, or now there's kids and stuff, and again, there are compromises and there's adjustments, but you have to find a way to maintain your individuality, and you have to encourage your spouse. You should encourage your spouse to also maintain individuality. Okay. All right. The next tip is along those same lines: give space for individuality. I used to really hold in high honor couples that love, lived, and worked together. Like, I'm a creative person, so I used to love the idea of a Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. I used to love the idea of a Tracy Edmonds and Babyface. I used to love the idea of these couples who were creative couples, and now they're married, and now Tracy and Babyface are, they've been divorced a long time, okay? And Will and Jada, okay, love them, but they are not relationship goals for me. And actually, no one is. no one's relationship goals for me anymore. But I used to really desire that. And I can't say I don't desire it now, but I have it in a different perspective now that I have been married, right? I realize that individuality within the unit is very important. You don't have to have all of the same interests. You don't have to always be together. You don't have to do everything together. But I think that it's a beautiful thing and actually a healthy thing if you desire to, even if you don't. Okay? That means that you genuinely like who you're married to. You don't just love them, you like them. That's another tip. You should like your spouse. And if you don't like them anymore, for those of you who've been married a short or a long time, you have to find a way to rekindle the like, not just love. Like. You should like coming home to the person you're married to. You should like spending time with them. If you always have to have other people around you in order to have a good time, if you have to always, or the majority of time, go out with other couples or go on vacation with other couples, or it always has to be a group setting, even with the kids, that can be a red flag that there is something amiss. You should genuinely enjoy and like who you're married to. You should genuinely desire to spend time with them. You should, when something happens, they should be the first person you want to tell. Something good or not so good. They should be the first person that you lean into and like, I want to share this with them. Oh my gosh, babe, I can't wait to talk to. Yeah. If you don't have that, I encourage you to address that, because that actually can be a reflection of the quality of your relationship if you all don't like each other like that. Okay? Don't smother your spouse. If your spouse can't be an individual, if your spouse wants to go to a class or wants to go work out or wants to, go running, or again, go their little once a month outing with their girls or their guys, and they can't get in the car good without you blowing up their phone, they can't be gone for a couple of few hours without you calling them repeatedly, or here's another thing, FaceTiming them, trying to check on where they at and make sure that they doing what they supposed to be doing. You out of order. You're out of order. Ladies, if you're doing that to your man because you don't trust him, now you got to ask yourself, has he done something to deserve me not to trust him? And if the answer is yes, and you chose to forgive and stay, and or just stay and you ain't got through the forgiveness part yet, you need to slow your roll and choose to control yourself as you work through those issues. If you chose to stay with someone who has broken your trust, then you do not need to be going around acting like they mama and blowing up their phone and FaceTiming them because you really trying to check on them and keep tabs on them. No. That is inappropriate. It's inappropriate. If you're going to stay, you need to be all in and choose to trust, or force yourself to trust even when you still have those shaky feelings. Okay? Gentlemen, some of y'all are horrible. You're controlling. Your woman can't leave out the door without you acting like you have lost your brain and can't find nothing, can't, don't know how to, where the skill of that, well, the kids need this, using those of you that use your kids as an excuse to interrupt your spouse's free time, that they're actually out to enjoy themselves with friends or family, independent of you and the kids or whatever. You're out of order. Now, I prayed before I made this video, and I asked God to fill up my mouth and to share what needs to be shared. I have my notes. Y'all know I always have my notes. But this is what I feel to share. There is somebody that needs this. You are out of order. You're controlling, you're insecure, you're jealous, and that is not your spouse's issue. That is between you and you. That's between you and God. They should be able to go on a girl's trip, a guy's trip, without you tripping. Y'all should be able to give that to each other. I remember, and this was actually during like the first year of marriage. Now, I acknowledge I am, I'm not a typical woman, okay? But one thing for me is that if I don't trust the person, I can't be with them. That's just what it is. If I'm with them, that means I either trust them wholeheartedly or I'm choosing to trust them and I'm choosing to move forward. But I remember my ex-husband, he wanted to go see his boy in DC, blah, blah, blah. And so he had planned this trip out there or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I don't remember it was the first year of marriage because we were still in an apartment. It was before we moved to our place. We bought our place. And while he was gone, I was good. If he didn't check in, now I missed him. Sure, we were newlyweds. I missed him, but I was not blowing up his phone. I wasn't calling. I did not have an attitude. I was living my life. I was good because I had a life. That's another thing. I said your individuality, you should not drop your individuality. So when your spouse does want to go and do something as an individual, you not losing your mind. You can miss them, yes. When they call the check, as long as you know they're safe and they're good, they landed where they're supposed to land or they got to their destination, if they checked in or whatever, or even if they didn't check in, but if y'all have that type of, just let me know when you get there, have a great time, and you genuinely mean it, then you're good. But all of this checking in, blowing the phone, I did not call him, not once. And he was gone for like a long weekend. He called me a couple of times, and when he called, it was like, oh, hey, babe, blah, blah, blah. It was good. But I wasn't checking in on him. I let him go and have a good time. And I was doing what I was doing. That is where trust comes in. If you cannot do that, if you can't allow your spouse that freedom, and vice versa, that's a problem. It actually chips away at a marriage because a person can actually feel smothered, and then they don't even know it until they may have a moment where for some reason they have to go somewhere without you, and then it's like, I didn't even know I was holding my breath. I needed this. You know how they have the statements that, it's something like distance makes the heart grow fonder. There's truth to that. Sometimes you need to allow each other allow there to be a missing period. Don't just be continuously up under each other, but you should want to be. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You should like your person enough to want to be under them all the time, but you're not. You see the difference? as opposed to someone trying to control and keep you in a chokehold, and you can't go and do nothing with anyone else. You can't go to a movie with your friends. You can't go hang out with your sister with somebody running their mouth or whatever. You can't go do anything. You can't go shoot pool with your boys without her having an attitude or, whining or that is not a healthy dynamic, and it will chip away at a marriage. Okay, moving on. Oh God, I don't want to make this too long, but it is what it is. Okay, I'm gonna get this out. I hope you all are getting value out of this. Pay attention to your spouse. Indifference is just as bad as smothering. Your woman got her hair cut 2 weeks ago and you ain't noticed yet. If you did notice, you didn't say anything. Your man has been in the gym and he's dropped 10 pounds and you ain't said nothing. Or your spouse is literally on the verge of stroke and you haven't picked up on anything. You're so preoccupied with everything else. When was the last time that you actually sat and looked your spouse in the face? Looked at them. Especially for those of you all who have been married for years. I can't tell you how disturbing it is to see couples out and they don't even make eye contact. Or if they do, it's with a hard kind of scowl on their face. They don't look like they like each other. And maybe they don't. I love to see couples smiling and laughing with each other. I love to see them comfortable with each other. I love to see that. If you have lost that in your marriage, I'm telling you, you need to address it. Don't let that keep lingering on day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Because what ends up happening is when the dust settles and the kids are of age and you legit only have that person. This is how we get to people being 20 and 30 years in and they end up getting a divorce because they don't have a connection with each other. They don't really like each other. They've lost something along the way, or what's even sadder, they never had it in the first place. And they don't have a willingness to try to get it. Pay attention to your spouse. Somebody out in the street shouldn't be giving your spouse more compliments than you are. It's even the little things. Oh, babe, you smell so good. Oh, okay. Sorry, I just thought about this. This just hit me. Ladies, you remember how when you were dating your man, your husband, and if you knew he was coming by the house or y'all were going out, you went and you made sure you got all fresh and clean. Your hair was laid, you had on your cute outfit and you wanted to look a certain way for him. And if he was to knock on that door before you were ready, I need 10 more minutes. Or you can sit in the living room and wait. I'll be out in a minute. You will not allow him to see you not together. Some of us, come on now, you know where I'm going. We be looking crazy because we've gotten comfortable. We're settled down. And then as soon as we break up with the person, here we go. Now we want to go get that fresh hairstyle. We want to start wearing something that's nice or sexy or, whatever. Or we want to start, sprucing ourselves up. We want to go ahead and lose them few little pounds or whatever. Pay attention to your spouse. Take care of yourself, not only for you, but for them. Ladies, you should not be walking around the house with your hair all over the place or your face looking crazy. That doesn't mean you have to, go around with the whole face full of makeup. You don't have to do that. Everybody doesn't even wear makeup or don't wear it every day, and that's fine. But you should have nice, clean, fresh skin, your breath. Okay, all right, gentlemen, don't come home with that hot breath. Everybody should be carrying a toothbrush and toothpaste. You should have it at the job. You should hit that junk before you see your spouse. It's disrespectful. This is when we get too comfortable in our relationships, and it's because we thinking, well, they gonna be here. They'll be here. Oh, they seen me all kinds of ways. They should only see you toe up when you're in a transitional space, meaning that you're going from sickness to health. You don't feel good. You're going sickness to health. Or for us ladies, you're doing your hair at home. Yeah, your hair gonna be looking crazy because you're in the process of, you just washed your hair, or you're getting some braids put in, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, I'm not suggesting that you can't be comfortable with it, but don't get too comfortable. And some of us get way too comfortable where we wonder why our spouse is no longer attracted. Why they not all over us like they used to be. Some of us let our bodies go. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to stay the exact same way for life, but there should be effort put in. There should be effort put in. This goes for men and women. It's not just ladies. Some of you gentlemen, you let yourself go. You have gained an immense amount of weight, and you're not even the one popping out the babies. For what I understand, that when a man gains weight, especially in his stomach, I have not personally experienced this, okay? But when he gains weight in his stomach, his meat draws up. His stuff is not as hey, I'm telling you what I heard, not what I know on that one. Hey, listen, my whole point is, don't get that comfortable. I really hate to see when one spouse is still looking good and the other one is looking raggedy. Actually, that's a bad reflection on both. Gentlemen, if you are looking good and your wife is looking haggard, she's a reflection of you. Why is she looking like that? Is she unhappy? Is she stressed? Are you not supporting her in the way that she needs support? Ladies, are you all, in the gym and, all together, keeping yourself together, and your husband is looking toe up? Now, we all grown. You can't make anybody do anything, but have you put forth the effort? Or are you okay with being the one that's looking together and, okay. This leads me to the next one. Proactively grow individually and together. I talked before about having a growth mindset. this goes back to that. Have a growth mindset individually and as a couple. There is an analogy or illustration that I remember that and T.D. Jakes, I don't listen to him on a regular basis, but this was years ago. This is how impactful that was for me. I remember him talking about relationships, and he was talking about in marriages, marriages like riding a motorcycle together. Okay, you're riding, and on a motorcycle, if there's two people on there, you have to kind of flow and lean together. You have to flow and lean together, okay? And then if you come up on a curve, both of you have to lean in the same direction. And if you don't, y'all gonna crash. The motorcycle is going to crash because you have to work and lean together in the same direction. And he said, in the curves of life, that is usually when people lose each other. In the curves of life. If you are not continuing to grow as an individual and as a unit, those curves, you hear people say, well, we just grew apart. That doesn't happen overnight. You have to be aware and paying attention. If your spouse is desiring to grow and continue to do, and it should be just like I said, as an individual, continuing to want to read books, listen to podcasts, maybe start a side hustle or a business, wanting to have a different experience, want to go to a different city or different country to even visit, and you're not interested. They want to learn a new language, or let's do this together. Let's read this book together. Let's pray together. Let's start going to this, club or group together. And it's positive and it's growth minded. Don't say, oh, well, you can go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead and go. I'll be here watching my Real Housewives of... Guess what? What you're doing is allowing them to grow without you. And if you let that happen too much, see, what ends up happening too is that they're making experiences with others that you're not a part of. And again, as I said before, as I said before, individuality is important, but it has to be a balance. If you let your spouse do a bunch of stuff without you, gosh, sorry y'all, it's gonna be a problem. Chip, 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 chip away. Space. Next thing you know, it's a big old river between y'all. Okay, moving on. Ooh, this is getting long. Sorry, y'all. Love your spouse in their language. Communication is extremely important. Communication is extremely important. If you're not tuned in to loving your spouse the way that they receive love, then they will not feel loved by you. If their love language is quality time and you're constantly showering them with gifts are nice, but quality time is how they feel loved. So they will still not feel loved by you if their primary love language is quality time. It's the same thing if someone asks you for, and I think this is even the Bible, like where it's talking about if your child asks you for an egg and you give them a snake. Like, come on. What? And we do it all the time in relationships where, especially, I have to say, ladies, men do it too, but I'm a woman, so I know we do it. A man asks for, I just want, it's very important for me to come home to a bed that's made. It drives me crazy when I walk in a room, and this is a personal thing for me. I cannot stand walking into a room. I don't care if this paper, and I do care, but I'm saying that for me, it's something about an unmade bed. I get instantly irritated. So say, for instance, the man says, I really, really need to walk into our bedroom and there is a made bed at minimum. And instead, you got clean laundry piled on top of the bed. Well, you got clean clothes and it's folded, but it's on the bed. And he expressed that he needs, for his mental health, he needs a freaking clear, clean, made bed when he walks in. It's great that the laundry is done. It's great, but that's not what he needed. That's not what he asked for. If he asked you to, please, babe, I really need you to help me with this business plan. I really need you to help me with this business plan. Can you please just, edit this business plan for me? Because you're excellent at that, and I'm not. That's not my strong point. I just need you to edit it. I've already got all my ideas down. This is what I want to do. I just need you to edit it. Check it for spelling and grammar and this, that, the other. And you come back, you have completely changed the whole company. You've completely changed everything that he had in there, and that's not what he asked you to do. Now, it's okay if you have ideas that you say, hey, as I was reading it, I came up with some ideas as well. I put those down separately. Hey, this is what, this might help, because you are his helpmeet. It's nothing wrong with that. But did you do what he asked you to do, though? This is what he asked you to do. And now you irritated because he's irritated that I needed to submit that to some investors tomorrow. I just needed you to edit what I had. And you didn't do that. You came up with a whole different thing. I didn't really, that's cool, but I wanted you to edit this. You get what I'm saying? Communication and then following through on that. Sometimes we're not clear, and this is what I'm gonna wrap this up because this has got really long. Communication. Intentional listening, specifically in marriage. Being honest. Some of you all are not honest with your spouses. And I get it, because sometimes your spouse is too emotional. They're too sensitive. You feel like you can't be honest with them. Because when you have tried to be, they have snapped. They've lost it. Or they did not hear you because they got triggered. This is for everyone. You have to get to a place where you can hear the person that you're doing life with. You can hear their truth of how they feel, whether you agree with it or not, and remain calm so that you can clearly hear what they're saying and understanding. Because when you don't, you shut down communication. If they try to bring something to you and you shut it down out of your own emotionalism, or you getting on the defense and all that kind of stuff, chip away. Be respectful. Both men and women need respect. I personally don't like, I emphasize a lot on not talking to each other crazy, not speaking in certain tones of voice or using certain language when you're talking to others, but in particular to your spouse. If you hold it as a badge of honor that you cussed somebody out, you cussed him out, or you had to snap off on him, or you had to put her in her place, chip, chip, chip away. Be respectful. Ladies, a man will immediately shut down or go into a rage if you are disrespectful with your mouth. Disrespectful, fly, all of that. Men need respect. They need honor. Let me add this to it real quick. Gratitude is very important. And I know as a woman, I have myself said, why do I need to thank him for doing something that he should be doing? He a grown man. Okay, he the man in the house or whatever. Why should I have to thank him for taking the trash out? Do he need a cookie for that? Oh my God. I've said it myself. But the little things go a long way. Especially what I have observed in men. Being genuinely grateful, even if it's something that you feel like, well, he should do that anyway. What's the big deal? For the traditional woman and the traditional man dynamic, he's paying the bills. He's working hard and he's paying the bills, whether she works outside the home or not. Ladies, you need to walk in gratitude and be openly grateful, speaking and in action, move in gratitude because your man is paying the bills. He should know that you are grateful for that and not entitled. When he pays for the food at the restaurant, when he pays for takes the family out, thank you, babe. That was nice. I really enjoyed that. Thank you, babe, for taking us out. Thank you. Genuinely and sincerely. Thank you, babe, for getting up and going to work and making sure these bills are paid. Making sure this mortgage is paid, this rent is paid. Babe, you're doing such a great job. I know it's not easy. I know sometimes you don't even feel like, but thank you. Thank you for being a good provider. When was the last time that you thanked your man, ladies, for doing what you say, okay, he should be doing because he the man? Gentlemen, when was the last time that you thanked your wife for creating a safe space for you, for being supportive of you and your dreams, for standing by your side, for taking care of you in all of the ways that she takes care of you and the family? When was the last time that you intentionally thanked her? These are things that puts deposits in the love bank that helps people to have a happy, healthy marriage. I ain't even going to the basic stuff like being trustworthy, being having fidelity, not going outside of your marriages. These are no-brainers. We already know that. These other things, these are things that we end up taking for granted in marriages, taking each other for granted. You don't want to come over here. The last thing, this is from a Forbes article. It's talking about how many marriages end in divorce. 43%, and this is a 2024 article, 43% of first-time marriages end in divorce. Second and third marriages actually fail at a far higher rate. 60% of second marriages fail, and 73% of third marriages fail. They end in divorce. This is why I say those of us who are over here, meaning that we've gone through divorce, if you are married, I'm telling you, you need to understand that these may be things that maybe you're doing great, or maybe these are things that you need to address. Especially if you've been married for a long time. Do not take it for granted that just because you've been married for a long time that you can kind of rest back and kick up your heels. Okay? I hope this helps somebody. I know it was kind of long. Please, if you find value and you made it to the end, please comment, share, subscribe, all of those things, because I find value in sharing this because I genuinely want to help others learn from the things that I've learned from. Okay?